When BioWare released details on their upcoming Dragon Age The Veilguard, one of the things that really dominated the conversation was just the fact that now they're having top surgery scars for the character creation. And it's not like they have scarring options that's available, and one of them includes top surgery scars. No, they made it a toggle, so they really wanted to emphasize that this is a feature in the game if you so choose to use it. Not only that, but then other stuff coming out about the game is just the fact that they have non-binary characters now, because, that's what gamers actually care about, having this type of representation in their game. But the fact of the matter is, companies like BioWare are basically just infiltrated by activists who are using it as a springboard to push their own agenda. One such company that isn't doing this, however, is Nintendo with their new game Echoes of Wisdom, which, to be honest, is just ripe to push that kind of agenda in it, because this is one of the few Zelda games where you actually play as Zelda in it. And having a female protagonist in a Zelda series could have been an opportunity for them to push a girl power sort of motif, but they really didn't do that with that game. They were just trying to make a fun game, have a different mechanic system because you're playing as Zelda and not as Link. And for the most part, it's pretty well received. And that's why I'm thinking we're getting this news coming out where apparently Echoes of Wisdom, as far as physical pre-orders go, outpaces Dragon Age The Veilguard 20-1. This is coming from that Park Place. A retail insider shared that physical pre-orders for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom outsold Dragon Age The Veilguard 20-1. Now, Echoes of Wisdom is out already, so we know what the sales numbers for that are. Dragon Age The Veilguard is not out just yet, but I'm assuming when it gets closer to the release date at the end of the month, we'll see those pre-order numbers probably shoot up a little bit higher, but still, with the numbers that are being reported in this article, it's actually pretty bad for them. It was previously rumored that Zelda Echoes of Wisdom outsold Dragon Age The Veilguard by about 4-1. Greg Skistimis, who owns and hosts the Side Scrollers podcast YouTube channel, shared that his retail source, who manages over 900 stores, informed him that Dragon Age The Veilguard only had 1,069 pre-orders in total, while Zelda Echoes of Wisdom had over 4,400 in just the past 2 weeks. Below that is a screen grab from his X post where all this information is coming from. But if I'm going to be a little bit generous to Dragon Age The Veilguard, that's being released on multiple platforms, including on PC. So it stands to reason a lot of people are going to be just buying digital copies of that as well, as opposed to physical copies. Meanwhile, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is a Switch exclusive, and even though people can buy it digitally on there, a lot more people are inclined to buy physical copies for the Switch. But still, this discrepancy, I think, is pretty remarkable, because even though Zelda Echoes of Wisdom came out, and this is 4,400 number is talking about the last 2 weeks, it was just released. So this is probably people buying physical copies or pre-ordering physical copies in the lead up to the release of the game. Meanwhile, Dragon Age The Veilguard is set to come out at the end of the month. So I think we're going to see more pre-orders of it in the lead up to the release of that game. But still, if you actually look at prior to the last couple of weeks for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, they had still significantly higher pre-order numbers than what we're seeing with Dragon Age The Veilguard. A retail source has since contacted that Park Place and shared that while Zelda Echoes of Wisdom did around 4,400 in just 2 weeks, in total the game's pre-orders was closer to 20,000. That means the game sold nearly 20 times more than Dragon Age The Veilguard. And upon its release, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom sold out, and this is reflected in the UK sales charts where it reached number 2 over there. And Nintendo executives are reportedly pretty happy with the results of all this. Meanwhile, the physical copies of Dragon Age The Veilguard, like I said, aren't really doing that well. And even if you look at digital outlets, it looks like it's not really having a huge amount of pre-orders digitally, or at least on some of the outlets that are being cited in this article right here. As you can see below, Dragon Age The Veilguard Deluxe Edition was only 11th on the PlayStation Store's top pre-order list, just 3 spots ahead of Assassin's Creed Shadows Ultimate Edition. The base game was in the 17th position, just 4 spots ahead of Assassin's Creed base game. And Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of those games that Ubisoft has so little expectation for. They actually delayed it because they're hoping that they can fix the problems, because presumably the pre-order numbers for it weren't that good. And Dragon Age The Veilguard, while it might be doing better than a game that's expected to be just a huge flop for Ubisoft, that's still not really good when their deluxe edition isn't even on the top 10 list and it's just a couple weeks out before the game is supposed to be released. The game is also only in the 31st position on SteamDB's most wish-listed upcoming Steam games list. It only has 63,393 followers and is ranked 84th in top sellers. There are others coming out with their sources in the retail industry and saying that the enthusiasm for Dragon Age the Veilguard just isn't there. And from the metrics that we can see on digital platforms like the PlayStation Store and Steam, it just doesn't seem like people are excited about this game. And this is kind of also reflected in the last trailer that we saw for it, where you can see the ratio is not necessarily the worst thing, but it's also not good news, especially when you compare that to Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, because after that was released, you can see it has universal praise from critics and audiences. And I think a lot of this just has to do with the fact that the people working on Dragon Age the Veilguard is just trying to put more stock into social activism as opposed to making a quality game. Now, I'm not saying those elements in Dragon Age the Veilguard are going to be what makes or breaks it. I've said before, when it comes to these sort of things, when companies do that sort of marketing or they try to lean into that sort of demographic, it usually means there's people at the company who are trying to push it. And when you have people at the company in significant numbers trying to push that sort of thing, that usually means those people are probably hired based off of check boxes as opposed to merit. And when you have a company that's employed by people who are just hired because they fit whatever demographic the leadership wanted to fit into the company, well, then you're not necessarily going to have the best people for the job. So you're going to have a subpar game. And I think we're going to see that being said when the game is finally released. Meanwhile, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, this is something that they very well could have done with that game, because it's a Zelda game and normally you're playing as Link, but you're playing as Zelda. So they could have made like a feminist girl boss Zelda game or something like that. But they decided not to do that. And they actually tried to do a different approach to the game mechanics, because you're not playing as Link, you're playing as Zelda. So you're not just going to be basically a gender swapped Link and doing the exact same thing. They're going to actually go about it in a different way. And I think many people actually appreciate that, because it just goes to show Nintendo understands if you're playing as a female character, the game should actually be a little bit different if it's a game that's traditionally with a male character in it. I know when the trailer for Echoes of Wisdom was first released, there was some people online saying like, oh, there's a lot of chuds mad at this game now because it's a woke Zelda game. And everyone's like, no, this isn't a woke game just because you have a female main character in it. I think that's what a lot of these activists don't understand, what woke actually means. They think if you have like a gay person in it, or a female character, or a non-white character, then it's automatically a woke game. And that's not really what it is. And that's why a lot of people actually like this game. To me, I've said this before, what I think something, when I say something's woke, that means the narrative, the activism, things like that, those take a precedent over quality gameplay and storytelling and other things like that. In some instances, it actually gets in the way of quality. In pursuit of just trying to push a political agenda. We didn't see that with Echoes of Wisdom, and that's why people like this game. I picked it up myself, and I've been really enjoying it so far. And despite some people trying to claim that this is supposed to be a woke Zelda game, no one's really buying that, and that's why this game is succeeding. Meanwhile, Dragon Age the Veilguard, people working on that game have even said that, like, yeah, they're trying to push a political and social agenda with that game. So I think we're going to see some people who are within those crowds are probably going to buy the game. And I think there's going to be some gamers who kind of ignore a lot of the stuff are going to buy it as well. But I don't think it's going to be hugely popular or anything like that. And with the amount of money they spend on that game compared to what Nintendo spends on Echoes of Wisdom, I think Echoes of Wisdom is probably going to come out the victor in this battle. And Dragon Age the Veilguard is probably going to be a loss for BioWare. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Which game of these would you rather play, if any at all? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.